What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, that means you're new. I'm Mark. What's good with y'all? Go check out my other videos. Check them out. Check them out. Yes, I know it's been a few days, but hey, we're back talking about something important. So, in this video, what happens exactly if you have to use your gun? So, it depends on the situation. It depends on how the situation ends. There's a lot of different variables here that can really affect the outcome of everything. So I get asked this question a lot, especially when I'm teaching CCW classes, and I tell them it's not ever really an easy answer. It depends where it's going to take place. So for starters, let's say there's an incident where it's in your home. Well, in my state, in Florida, we have the castle doctrine. Someone breaks into your home and you use your firearm to protect yourself, you're automatically assumed the innocent party. That's what the castle doctrine is, guys. So, I mean, that's very different, you know what I mean, versus being out and about. There are a lot of varying factors here that a lot of people don't realize, which is why it's not something that you can give a straightforward answer to. But what I can do is at least give you a general rundown of what you should expect. So, whether it is in your home, near your home, outside of your home, at your job, wherever it may be, let's say you have to use your firearm for self-defense, and let's even just throw some points your way, say 100% that yes, it's justified. However, though, here's what you are to expect. You're going to call the police. You're simply going to say, I was attacked. I had to defend myself. Please send police and medic. That's a pro tip. The police are not supposed to question you while you were under medical care. There is that. That's always a plus. But if you're like me, I have lawyers, so I have nothing to worry about in that instance. I have lawyers who are specifically about self-defense. Regardless, so, my point is that after you do so, you're going to hang up with 911. You don't necessarily need to be on the phone with them. There is no use of it. There will not be any benefit to you. And in the end, it can really only hurt you to stay on the phone with 911. Moving on, though, just from that, what you're going to do at that point, one, hopefully you have at least made sure that you are no longer in any danger. But if you haven't, you're going to make sure you're no longer in any danger. Do that. Always make sure that you're safe before you do the next step, which is you are going to unload your weapon. And I will tell you this right now, guys. When the police do arrive, everybody loves to say, oh, I know, be silent. I plead the Fifth Amendment. Shut up and say nothing. But that's not really how it ever goes from what I've seen. A lot of people usually end up saying something, even if it's the tiniest little thing. Like, I'm the good guy, that's the bad guy, my gun's right there, it's empty. And they have their hands up. Even if it's the littlest thing like that, something usually ends up getting said, and no matter how you want to view it, you're going to be detained by the police at the bare minimum. Now, whether that detention includes taking you to jail for a little bit while they conclude their investigation, that's a whole nother matter. It really depends on how long it takes to conclude their investigation. And again, we'll even go the step further and say that, yes, it is a justified situation. But in the end, after the investigation, you get released. You're going to have to fight to get your gun back. That's going to be a pain to deal with. It's when you get it back, you're not going to like it because there's going to be a case number now scratched into it. It's not going to be in good condition. However, though, what I can say is that in the end, it's much better than being dead or being severely injured. I think we can all agree there. While, yes, it is a hassle, and yes, it does take the police a little bit to conclude an investigation on something like that, especially if the other person is no longer alive. Because you got to think now, it's really one less person they have to worry about. They're now more worried about getting stuff to incriminate you. In the end, though, it's just as long as it is legitimately justified based off the laws of where you are at, as long as you have not broken any laws, as long as you also have a lawyer, in the end, there is a good possibility that you will be found under a justifiable sense. You will not be found guilty of any crimes or anything like that. but also it's just not something you ever really want to deal with. Now, keep in mind, after you get your gun back, a lot of people are thinking, okay, cool, the situation happens, the investigation's concluded, whatever. Keep in mind, the investigation being concluded isn't going to exactly take 2 hours. It could take a pretty long time depending on the situation. But also, if it happened at your home is now a crime scene, so you're not going to be able to live there. I mean, overall, there are so many things that come with having to use your gun for self-defense, and there are so many different variables that affect what can happen, what you're going to have to deal with. That's why it's not a matter of giving a straightforward, black and white answer. But what I can say, at least, is that after the situation happens, you're probably going to call the police. You're probably going to unload your weapon. You're probably going to, if you're smart, stay silent. And if you're smart, get a lawyer. That's really it. I mean, yes, again, and you probably are going to be detained or possibly arrested while the police conclude their investigation. But with that being said, I do think that about wraps it up for this video. I don't want to keep going in circles here. However, I didn't know how else to, get this information out there other than to say it exactly how I did. Because in the end, every single variable affects the situation and the outcome of it. So again, if it's like somewhere in your home, your home is now a crime scene. You can't go back there until the crime scene is cleaned up. That sucks. That really does. If there's so many aspects to it. I mean, your job probably will fire you. I will tell you that much. If you are involved in a self-defense situation, your job probably will fire you, at least until you're cleared, and then you'll get rehired. There's a bonus one, guys. But with that being said, y'all make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that bell. When you hit that bell, hit all in. Whether or not you agree with me about my thoughts on this, keep in mind, guys, I am a firearms instructor. I do have to know the law in regards to self-defense. I do also speak with a ton of different cops who have been around for self-defense situations where, yeah, the person who defended themselves had to deal with all of these things. But go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. Yes, I know it's tedious. Yes, I know it sucks having to deal with it, especially after a self-defense situation, but it's better than being 6 feet under. But with that being said, go ahead and make sure to check out all my other videos. I'll make sure to stay legal, stay safe, stay dangerous. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.